For watching live or listening back to this show from Teachers Talk Radio. You can catch up with all our shows by visiting our YouTube channel or by listening back at ttradio.org. Don't forget to like and subscribe to enjoy more live education conversation from TTR. We hope you enjoy this show.
Outstanding and world-class vision and world-class this.
I'm a real leadership geek, honestly. I've spent my whole career reading books and chatting to people.
I just find the whole thing and the announcement, the way it's been announced, bizarre.
If you could move away from a model where teachers are so intensely focused.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Teachers Talk Radio on this Monday evening. I hope you're well. I hope if you've been teaching today, it's gone okay. And I hope that you're looking forward to tucking into a conversation about what's coming up with BETT Show 2026 with us this evening, which should be really, really exciting. I'm going to be joined by Kate and Duncan from BETT Show in just 30 seconds time. Before we do that, it's probably a good place for me to mention our partners on the show tonight that are the BETT Show and also Hachette Learning, who I'll talk a little bit about later on in the show, about what they can offer. And yeah, special thanks to them for supporting this show. So Duncan and Kate, thanks very much for joining me. The topic for tonight is BETT 2026. Now, I was at BETT 2025. Really looking forward to 2026 again. Teachers Talk Radio will be there again. So I'm going to caveat this with my own intro of my experience of BETT. I've been attending BETT now for about 8 years. And every year that I've been, it's been absolutely amazing. Just the atmosphere, the sort of collaborative environment, the people, the ideas, the vibe. You know, the whole lot is just great. You get a massive buzz out of it every day that you're there. Obviously, some people can only go for a few hours, but I'm sure those people would share that as well. And I think one of the biggest things for me, just before we kick off the conversation, is what you take away from it, not just as a teacher, but also somebody who's engaged in the wider education space in terms of, you know, the people you meet, the things you see, the fact that you feel part of something, part of a movement, if without sounding too glib, but you sound, you know, like you feel like you're at the cutting edge of everything that's happening in educational technology. So that's my take on BETT, which is why I was quite excited to have this conversation about 2026 with you guys. So Duncan and Kate will kick off with a big question for those out there watching this who don't have a clue what we're talking about. What is the BETT Show?
I'll start on that one, and thank you, Tom, for allowing us onto Teachers Talk Radio. We really value the partnership, and any time that we spend interacting with teachers is time that's really valuable for us. Just in terms of the collaboration and the excitement and the energy that comes into BETT that you mentioned, we do not take it for granted ever that it's difficult for teachers to get out of the classroom now. They have so much to be getting on with. The pressures are greater, not least a curriculum review and a new Ofsted framework to get their heads around. And that really forces us to innovate and to try and deliver more for every show. What is BETT? Well, this will be BETT's 41st year, so it really started when technology was very, very basic. I think it started way back in the Barbican Centre in London. It started as the industry body's response. So BETT actually stands for British Education, Technology and Training. And it was their response to all the technology that was coming into schools and to help teachers and school leaders get their heads around it. What does it mean? What are the opportunities with the technology? And that sort of thesis has remained for us. That technology is moving ever more quickly. But as you mentioned, the collaborative sort of energy that's in the room, it's a real sort of crucible of ideas and innovation. And with over 35,000 people that attend, about half are school leaders, half practicing teachers, a lot of people from government as well. We're finding that the challenges all over the world aren't that different, but the solutions from the global providers and the sort of domestic software vendors can really help in the classroom. Technology isn't the be-all, end-all for sure, and teachers know that better than anyone. We're not trying to replace teachers with all of the tech that we put into the room, but what we are trying to do is help with that personalization of learning, the acceleration of outcomes. We're trying to help teachers save time and schools save money as well through some of the tech. So yeah, it's a really exciting 3 days, 21st to the 23rd of January. So it's always the Wednesday to the Friday. Very fortunate it gets opened by the Secretary of State for Education. So Bridget Phillipson has committed again, and it kicks off 3 days of, as you say, discovery and collaboration. There are, I think, 11 content theatres. There will be almost 500 speakers, and there are opportunities for teachers to sit around a table and share ideas in our table talks. Over 4,000 or 5,000 hours of tech training that will happen that's for free. And in fact, everything is free. If you work in a school as a governor, as a leader, as a teacher, everything is free. So you have to register, but you don't have to pay for a ticket.
That's amazing. And also the other thing that I've always noticed is how many international educators are there as well. You know, you have people from all over the world, especially Europe, coming over for the show. I don't know what the numbers were in 25, but it felt like a lot of the people. I mean, particularly in the hardware sort of area, there seemed to be a lot of people from Europe.
Yeah, it'll be of the 35,000. I think last year it was 38%. So we're sort of talking 12 to 13,000 people, 129 different countries. So it's very well represented as well. But yeah, the exciting thing for us that in activations that we run, like table talks, you can have classroom teachers from Cumbria to India, a school leader from Dubai, and they'll be talking about things, and the problems and the challenges are not that different, and there are learnings that they can gain from each other, and a great deal of solace and comfort, I think, that some find that actually it is one global community of teachers, and they're not facing these challenges in isolation, either within their school, within their district or local authority or trust or their country. Everyone's grappling with these challenges, and that speed of transfer of knowledge that you get in real life at an event, I think is really invigorating, and a lot of people come off site feeling that they're ready to take on some of those challenges, both small and big. Now,
again, feel free, either of you, to come in on this. But you mentioned to me previously about a new theatre for 2026. So tell us a bit about that. Tell us what's going on with this.
Yeah, I can answer, but let Kate will jump in as well. So operational transformation feels like the unsexiest thing in the world, but we're really trying to make that whole slightly uncelebrated back office of schools, how to buy everything better, because we don't just have tech. We have classroom resources, we have an incredible amount of furniture, playground, other equipment at BETT as well. The procurement of that, how to become sort of operationally excellent, the systems and processes within schools to make them more efficient, help save everyone time. We're going to be sort of focusing on that and trying to introduce some thought leadership and learning, as we do with all of our content theatres, and really exciting array of companies who are producing sort of solutions in that area.
Kate, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. Within that, we will have content sessions. So we'll have some content sessions on strengthening governance in school operations, stuff on IT systems, sessions on AI. So there's lots and lots going on within that area in terms of content that we'll have.
When you say the area, is that going to have like a new title, or is it just going to be a new area within another area?
Yeah, it's on the floor plan. So within sort of close to sort of teaching and learning and management solutions, which are two big areas, it sort of neatly sits between those. Yeah, it'll have the say big and slightly wordy title of the operational transformational area on, so everyone will see it on the floor plan. They'll know where to find it. So people in procurement, finance, and we're doing this in partnership with the Institute of School and Business Leadership. So they know a thing or two about this for sure. So they're helping bring some of the key speakers and the content providers and making sure we're putting on a program that are really grappling with today's challenges.
Just for the teachers out there, when you actually sign up for BETT, and as Duncan said, you can do it for free if you've got a school email address and you work in a school. Basically, you can as a teacher you can go for free. But when you sign up, you can check out the agenda on the BETT website. You can sort of plan where you want to go, because, you know, correct me if I'm wrong here, Duncan and Kate, but within BETT, you've got, you know, I guess as a teacher, if you wanted to simplify it right down, you've got sort of content sessions, which would be sessions that you might want to engage with for CPD that are all free, obviously, you know, things like
and
AI and accredited. Yes, we'll come on to that later. Don't ruin it, Duncan.
Okay,
don't ruin your new certification. All right, slow down.
I'm sorry.
But you've got CPD sessions, and then coupled with that, you also have the exhibitors. Now, obviously, the exhibitors are coming from far and wide. Then they are broadly in the technology space, although it's a very broad stroke on that. You know, you've got a lot of different exhibitors there to sort of walk around. In fact, I mean, if you went for like 2 hours, there's no way you'd probably cover it all. I mean, you might if you literally skim around. I tried it once. I tried to walk around every stall and time myself. I think I did it, but without stopping in like 37 minutes or something. But I mean, you know, that's how big it is, and that's without stopping. So I think you going to want to spend as long as possible there. I mean, funnily enough, with that, you know, if you're a teacher and you've only got a couple of hours at BETT Show, which a lot of teachers might have for various reasons, they might come after school, for example, or they might come for an afternoon, maybe, and arrive at 1, 2 o'clock or something and have until 6. Because it is 10 till 6, isn't it? So, you know, if you're sitting there going, I can't go, well, if you're based in London, and even if your school said no, you could technically get there and just have a couple of hours to engage after school, technically. But let's say you've got, you know, 2-3 hours. How would you suggest that a teacher plans that 2 to 3 hours? Because obviously we know how valuable their time is. So would you know, what would you suggest? Use the agenda on the website, or, you know, is there anything you'd sort of point them in the direction of?
Yeah, I would say if they're pre-planning before the app goes live, I've been telling lots of people this recently, I find it the easiest way to navigate what's on at the show. We've got a really good filter on the agenda page. So you can filter by day, you can filter by sector, topic, stage. So you can really find what matters most to you. And then once the app goes live, you can schedule that in. So you can go into the app and see hour by hour, minute by minute where you've scheduled in talks. So I find that would be the easiest way if you're short on time. If you're not short on time, I would still recommend doing that, just because, as you said, there's so many stages, so many places to be. Even you have to walk from one side to the other. It's just good to know how much time you need to get there. So that's how I would navigate the agenda.
Yeah, and I would add, start with the challenges or the issues that you want solved. We're there at the beginning of January. I know it's or the third week of January. It's not the beginning of the school year, but if you think of the year ahead, think about, okay, I could really do with some help on this. And that might be some a content session, some learning, some interaction with other teachers who might give a different perspective, or I'm sure there's something out there that can help solve this with this particular subject or area of learning that I have. And you can probably then, through that challenge that you face, start honing into, okay, these are the things that I want to go and hear about. And the content is there to help your thinking. It's there to help sort of strategic thought, pose ideas, challenge existing mindsets, and also prepare for what might be coming in the future. And then all around the show floor. And you did well in 37 minutes, Tom, I have to say, because this year there maybe we're going to get close to about 700 exhibitors. So that's you'll be walking pretty quickly. But there's likely to be a plethora of companies that have solutions, and we try and order it, but they'll all have profiles that you can search in advance, and just go and discover. And as I think most people will say about any event in the Excel, it takes over a lot of Excel. Wear a comfortable pair of shoes, even if you're just there for a couple of hours.
Sure. And also, there's a lot of freebies there. Okay, the exhibitors, they always bring lots of freebies. I mean, each year, because first one I went to was 2016, right? A lot's changed since then. Like, for example, in 2016, I could be completely wrong on this because I don't remember much of 2016, but one thing I don't remember seeing as much of in 2016 was like full-on bars and like coffee shops on exhibitors' stands, which is pretty impressive, with free drinks. So, if you're looking for an after, I'm not saying that would be the only reason to go to BETT Show, but if you've had a really bad week and you're in the middle of the term, you might want to go there, go around the stands. There's some really good networking opportunities. I know, for example, BISA do their networking drinks, I think, every time. I don't know whether that's on the Wednesday or Thursday. You've got the BETT Teach Meet as well, which is great for networking. There are opportunities there to sort of meet other teachers, which I think is brilliant, because those opportunities are sometimes few and far between due to time constraints. Let's move on, guys. I just wanted to ask you next about the Meet the Speaker concept, because that stuck out to me as potentially quite exciting. What's this all about?
Yeah, I'll sort of kick this off, but I think Kate might have a bit more detail. We're trying to sort of think about it often happens at the end of a presentation or a keynote speech that is given. People will try and sort of, I'd love to just ask what he or she meant by that, and I've got a school that's this particular context, or we have this cohort of children right now, and they just want to sort of contextualize their thinking with the topic that the speaker might be talking about. And it really stemmed from, Apple Apple Education Worldwide are a big client of ours, but we just kept thinking of the Genius Bar, the Apple Genius Bar. Wouldn't it be great if we had one of those for every speaker, and you could just go up and say, "Hey, that was great, but my school is like this," and just ask them. And we said, "Okay, well, let's create one." Well, but one wouldn't be enough, because we've got theatres everywhere, and we want to make it easy for people to access. So yeah, we're building sort of literally sidebars, areas alongside the theatres, and inviting all of our speakers, and most of them are up for it, to just hang around for a bit in those intermediary sessions and make themselves available to be asked questions, for people to come up and challenge them on things, unpick some of the things that they talked about, or quiz them or benefit from their expertise with some sort of contextualized knowledge.
That's very cool. Go on, Kate. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, that's exactly what it is. The thing is, while it's a great opportunity, obviously, for educators to speak to the speakers, it's also really cool, I guess, for the speakers to take away things back for themselves as well. Yeah, so I think it works both ways.
Definitely.
Yeah, I just want to add in I guess, to your previous question, and it is great for teachers to go, and yes, they can pick up the swag, but there are, as I say, hundreds and hundreds of companies that really want to interact with teachers. Some of them are startups, and they've got an idea, they've got a bit of a product. It might be just reaching its first schools, first few thousand students, and they want interaction, they want feedback. I'm thinking of doing this, I'm thinking of building this feature, and they really value the experience and the interaction that they get. So as well as benefiting, teachers and school leaders have a lot to give when they're at the show, even for some of the sort of expert speakers that we bring in.
I'm going to give a shout out now to one of the exhibitors at BETT Show 2026, which is Peach Wellness Academy. So Peach Wellness Academy were on Teachers Talk Radio a few weeks ago talking about their brand new offer to teachers, which is around like the PSHE. In fact, they were very careful to say it was not just about PSHE, but it's actually helping teachers in a whole variety of ways with health, well-being. They're two doctors, and I know they're exhibiting at BETT 26, which shows you that it's a great opportunity for new, fresh organizations with new and fresh ideas to really showcase those ideas. And I think that's one of the great things about BETT Show is seeing things that you wouldn't otherwise have seen in that environment, So anyway, that was just a shout out for them as well.
Yeah, and I actually, but it's a good one, because wellness is a theme that we're considering all of the time. We have, BETT is busy, and the bigger it is, and the more people that come, the louder it is, and the more daunting it can be. So we have a quiet zone dedicated for people to say, I just need to take myself out of this for a while. But there are lots of there are a few sort of macro trends within global populations right now. We were talking about this the other day. One is, I think, called the impatience economy, and that people won't wait 90 seconds for a coffee these days. So we're working with Excel to make sure that there's enough sort of coffee and stuff available. And unfortunately, some people are putting that on their stands. The other is wellness, so making sure there's a good array of food that the services everybody's needs. But on that, we're trying to think maybe more in less mental health but physical health. It's demanding, I bet. I did say, but not glibly, to wear a comfy pair of shoes. Our plan this year is we're going to make it a competition. The top 10 teachers each day that walk the most steps, if they send us how many steps they've done, they prove it, they're going to get a free pair of trainers, personalized trainers from BETT. So we know it's demanding, but we want to encourage you to explore and discover as much as possible. So how we're going to do that? Well, we'll repair the trainers that they're going to wear out walking around BETT, and we'll have pairs available for the top 10 steps that we see. We'll talk about the verification of those on another day.
That wasn't on my bingo card, so thank you for that one. So what feedback? Because I know you mentioned, you touched on this earlier on, and maybe I'm going to point this question at Kate. Is what feedback sort of led you to introduce these sort of instantly downloadable CPD certificates? Which is that a new thing? You might not be able to. I'm sorry to point that at you, Kate, when you might not want to answer that question. But the CPD certificates, I'm interested on the feedback that led you to go there, but also how it's all going to work.
Yeah, so Duncan, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that previous years at the end of the show you could put in all your sessions and get a certificate for what you'd taken part in at the show. This year, which we also did at BETT Asia a couple of months ago, once the session ends, you can scan a QR code and you will automatically get a CPD certificate for that session. So it's much easier, less time consuming after the show. Obviously, it's the end of January. People don't really have time. They're going to the show and taking time out. So we want to make it as simple as possible for people to get their CPD accreditations. And we've actually switched accreditation groups. So we're now with the CPD group, and that's something that they can offer to us, which is, we think it'll just save everyone time, and it's a great addition to the show.
Yeah, we curate a lot of the content beforehand, so we see it and we know it's CPD worthy. But it was just a sort of mechanic that meant it was sort of almost being CPD approved after the event. So people could only request for their CPD certificates after the event, after it had been delivered. Whereas now we're saying, well, okay, well, let's make it immediately available and immediately after the event. So when you've attended it, there should be a QR code. You snap it and you should be able to download an immediate certificate, and that worked well in Asia, which is a much smaller show.
And teachers, is that feedback you've had from teachers, or is that just an idea that you guys have had to do?
I think it's an idea that we've had, although the CPD and the certification of it, I think we were always in touch with teachers saying, well, look, if I need to get out of the classroom, I need to know that I'm learning. I'm not just
Sure.
walking around looking at vendors. So
Sure.
our content has always been CPD accredited, but so the mechanic of it can only sort of be accredited after the show, and then the certificates can become available. Well, a few days after BETT, look, we know that teachers are busy, they're back in school, and that won't be the first thing on their mind. So let's enable them and find the mechanic, the process to be able to do it as soon as they've received the CPD benefit.
Sure. Okay. Tech User Labs 2026. Any particular technologies or sort of challenge areas that you think they'll focus on in 2026, or is it going to be just a broad spread, or do you think there's any themes developing even from 25 into 26? I'm always interested in, what the trends are.
Yeah, look, Microsoft is always a big one, how to use Teams better. So another good thing, have a look at the Tech User Labs. It's tech training by experts or training organizations that are recommended and certified by the big vendors, Microsoft, Google, and Canva. And if you bring your laptop, they will talk you through some of the functionality you may not yet have discovered, but that was built specifically for educators and teachers. I think there's a range of big technologies in there that you can, again, as Kate said, filter on through on the agenda, and very shortly we'll be allowed to access those and sort of book in, all free, very sort of detailed training. I think they're about 15-minute sessions, but yeah, always very popular. Those happen in what I call phase 2 of the Excel, so away from the show floor, up in the suites, up the escalators. But this year, for the first year as well, we're building a soundproof theatre on the show floor, and they will happen in there. People will be able to very close to the teaching and learning area, so they won't have to walk as far, but it will all be soundproof, so you're not getting the noise from the show floor interrupting the very sort of detailed technical learning that's happening there.
Sure. Okay. One of my favorite areas whenever I go to BETT is like the startup zone, where you've got like the little booths that they're literally like sort of bar style sort of square tables with like people sort of standing on the corner. It's really cool. So with that, I mean, is that an area that's expanded year by year? Is that one that's grown year by year? It feels like it's always growing. What do you see as the benefits of the startup zone?
Yeah, the startup zone is growing again this year. It's almost doubling in the amount of pods that we have. I have the pleasure of going around the show and interviewing different people, and the startup zone for me is one of the most exciting zones. The people who are there looking at the new tech, they're really excited by it, and the startups themselves, the fact that they can have a little dedicated pod and speak to all of these people, they love it as well. So yeah, just from what I've been hearing, and yeah, it just seems like a really popular and upbeat zone as well.
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out to Aaron in our ops team, who has built this up this year, and he promised to me that he was going to build the Maldives of startup zones, which so I've got high hopes for it this year. But you get the thing that they're little sort of separate pods within a big.
It's almost like you can,
archipelago of startups.
Yeah, as a teacher, you can sort of go around fairly briefly, and it's almost like you can play your own game of Dragon's Den. You can go around, they'll pitch to you, they'll pitch the product, and then you can sort of say, yeah, I like this. You can take their information, and you can go around relatively quickly, which is quite nice, and you can get a flavor of what the organizations are offering. So that's pretty cool. And often Yeah, sorry, Duncan.
Yeah,
go on.
I'll just say they all get 5 minutes to present their product on the Innovation Theatre, which sits within that startup area. So yeah, if you want to hang around and see them pitch their product without standing right up close on a one-to-one basis, that is very much they're selling their heart out and really sort of projecting the idea. But that's absolutely as to what I said earlier, that they really value the feedback from teachers. They're looking at teachers' faces thinking, I put my heart and soul into this product. Maybe I've not got it quite right, but all startups have to pivot once in a while. So they're looking for great feedback as to what could make it better for educators, users, and obviously children in the classroom.
I think one of the exciting things as well about that zone is a lot of the startups, a lot of teachers and school leaders, they won't have heard of them. They are fresh out of the blocks. They,
and from all over the world. Yeah, they come from all over the world.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, let's talk about the main stage. Tell us a little bit, because I know a lot of speakers have been announced. Give us a little bit of a rundown on the speakers at BETT Show 26.
Yeah, I can go through a few of the ones that I found incredibly interesting. So on the arena stage, the big keynote on day one is with Amal Rajan, who is a journalist, podcaster, and presenter of University Challenge. I'm sure you know who he is. And he's in conversation with mathematician and broadcaster Hannah Fry. And they're speaking about AI and the future of learning, which obviously is an ongoing hot topic. So I'm sure that will be packed out, but that's one that we're really excited about. Duncan, I don't know if you have any more on that one.
Is exciting.
No, we've sort of managed to find a way of getting a few more seats in. So there's 1,500 seats, and there's health and safety tell me room for another 200 standing at the back if you can. And it's about a 45-50-minute session. But yeah, Hannah Fry is doing some really popular science podcasts at the moment. I think she has a BBC Two program. She does a lot of stuff with Dara O'Brien. Very big in the whole STEM area, and they're going to be talking about AI. And I think Amal will ask some tough questions. I've heard him on the Today program on Radio 4.
Oh, he's brilliant,
but he's also did a really, I think post-COVID, did a really interesting sort of series for radio that might have been chopped up into a podcast as well, about sort of learning after COVID and how would schools adapt and the changes. So yeah, he absolutely feels passionate about this space.
Definitely. Let's let viewers and listeners, let's remind viewers and listeners what we're talking about here, who might be just joining us, and we've had 150 tune in so far. Just to say welcome if you've just started watching this, and if you want to watch it back or you're wondering what we're talking about BETT Show 2026. If you don't know what that is, it's the biggest, can we call it the biggest ed tech show in the world? Can we call it that?
I think we can. There might be one that's bigger. The only one that might be bigger is BETT Brazil, actually, because that is big.
Okay, fair. So, all right, fine.
Let's just say BETT is.
All right, BETT is the biggest. Let's just put it that. So that's what we're talking about tonight, previewing the show. It'll be a great opportunity as well for me to shout out to our other sponsors on the show tonight, Hachette Learning. If you're a teacher out there watching this and you're looking to expand your professional development through books and resources, it doesn't matter where you're located because they will ship globally, then head over to the Hachette Learning website, pop whatever you want in your basket, get shopping for Christmas, get those CPD titles in. We're going to have a 27-second break, everybody, where you can sip on a drink. And then I've got some other intriguing questions coming up for Duncan and Kate about BETT Show 2026. Don't go anywhere.
Outstanding and world-class vision and world-class this.
I'm a real leadership geek, honestly. I've spent my whole career reading books and chatting to people.
I just find the whole thing and the announcement, the way it's been announced, bizarre.
If you could move away from a model where teachers are so intensely focused.
We're back. There was just so much good stuff in there. I had to give people a chance to digest it all,
So I'm going to help you with your work. I'm going to sound like a real lush now, but I have lunch tomorrow with the CEO of Hachette.
Okay.
And I don't mind saying I think they're doing some incredible stuff with EdTech and adaptive learning right now. There's a sort of a platform at the heart of what they do with all of the content that they have going back, I think, over 100 years. And yeah,
Wow.
they're doing some really smart stuff. Seshni Jacobs, the CEO of Hachette Learning UK, yeah, some really smart stuff going on there. So I will give them a shout out as one of your sponsors as well.
Well, they're fantastic sponsors and supporters, actually, of Teacher Voice. I think one of the things that myself and I'm sure all our other hosts, there's 50 other hosts at Teachers Talk Radio. I'm sure everybody, if they were here now and said, what does Hachette Learning offer to teachers? I think a lot of them would say it's Teacher Voice. They publish a heck of a lot of new teacher voices. I think that's really, really valuable in the space, especially at a time when, teacher voices can sometimes get drowned out. I think they really do. They try and platform, and they give those teachers a space to do that. So that's amazing. And of course, they support us. So thanks, Hachette. Another thing I wanted to ask you about, and this is something I asked you about this time last year, but we've moved on a year now. AI, it's everywhere, right? Now we've had recent stories about the AI bubble bursting, right? We've seen that in the news, whatever. We've also seen on the flip side of that, more huge investments in AI. We've seen more and more huge investments in AI. I know at BETT Show you've got organizations like Canva, for example, who are there, and so many other huge players within the EdTech AI space. So I wondered, what's your take on that? Is it thriving as much as ever? Is there anything new that you think is coming through exhibitors maybe that you've got in 26, or is it more of the same?
Yeah, I think if I can start with a report that we published in around September, our AI report, and we published one a year ago. So I think a year ago, about 31% of teachers were using AI, and a year later, that's now 50%. And that's pretty significant growth. And this was a survey that we did with YouGov. I've been encouraged by how governments and school districts, and I'm fortunate in my job to get around the world and meet lots of government, education departments and at a regional and a national level. But they're all trying to grasp this and put the framework in place to allow teachers to play with AI, try AI, or try and work it into helping them do their work better. But I think the question coming up more than ever is, okay, it needs to be human-centered AI. And I said, I think we spoke before BETT last year, and then I walked on stage and used the kind of analogy that this is not a Kasparov versus Deep Blue moment. This is not about AI replacing teachers. It's about augmenting teachers in a way that it can save time or personalize learning. And I was in Canada a few weeks ago, and I saw a product which is it sort of came out of, I think, over 1 million minutes of elementary school, primary school readers reading books that the AI tool has listened to. And they've created a personalized tutor to sit and listen to a child read and pick up when they not quite got the word right. And they've had to advance it to be successful, to incorporate all sorts of different accents across the US. And look, I'm too old, but I can imagine there are parents thinking, how much reading time, how much time does my child get to sit with the teacher? And it's difficult for the teacher. They've got 25 to 30 children in a primary school class. They can't sit with them all of the time. They want to hear them all read and check that it's going on. There are only so many teaching assistants. And you think that might be a really effective use of AI. It doesn't it doesn't take away from that personal contact and sitting with a teacher is best. Of course it is, but we can't have one teacher for every single child on that reading environment, and there's only so much that they can cover. And I think, okay, well, there's a really sort of interesting, and there's lots to be seen, but there's some really interesting, I think, applications of this, providing it remains human-centered. The guardrails are in around the data, and the frameworks and policies are there to encourage teachers to use it as well.
That's brilliant. I wanted to ask you, and this sort of ties in nicely actually with this conversation about AI, teaching and learning, is how does BETT, and I know you've got an advisory board, and I know many of those people on the board, not personally, but I know a lot of them are teachers. They're involved on the front line in education, so to speak. But I wondered how you at BETT make sure that it's not just about the hype, that it's about, the real stuff that's happening in classrooms, the real challenges that teachers face, the real stuff. How do you go about ensuring that as much as possible?
Yeah, I guess the advisory board is probably one of the biggest elements of that. We have a call every month with our members, and we go through various things, and we go through our content sessions, anything they think that we should add, or things like, is this hype or is this actually useful for educators? So I'd say that's probably one of the biggest ones. And something that they also mention quite a lot is we should be talking more about the student voice within AI. So following on from our AI report with educators, this week we actually have a AI student voice report coming out, which we've interviewed 10,000 students in partnership with IDEA, one of our partners, to see how students feel about AI. And interestingly, well, when it comes out, people can read it, but interestingly, what educators feel and what students feel are actually, there's a lot of similarities coming up there. So it is quite nice, I guess, to see that coming up as well. But yeah, it is speaking to various partners, advisory board members, and just members of the community, how we get that balance right.
Brilliant. That makes sense. Anything to add on that, Duncan? Or
yeah, look, I'll do a shameless plug for our own podcast series. So I've just finished now a series of 40 podcasts with leaders in schools, head teachers, deputy heads, curriculum leaders, some people from government, IT directors, talking about, it's called Lessons from Leaders. So their experiences of choosing, implementing tech. And one of the questions I always asked was around student voice, and particularly around AI, because there is that sort of, okay, they might be using AI and some technologies in their free time that is accelerating their comfort and level of use of these technologies beyond the time and capacity that teachers have. So how can we need to sort of embrace the voice, and just a very recent one. We talked about what they call, and this is from a university actually, but they were trying to assess what they call cognitive offload. So when, well, I could use AI to help and put some prompts in to help me with the research or explain something better, or I could just put the essay question in and get an answer. And they're trying to assess where you're using it well, and the cognitive offload of, I'm just going to put it in and get an answer and submit that, and that's going to save me hours. And it's, encouraging that critical thinking, still has a role to play, for sure, and is probably more important than ever. So yeah, I think student voice is important. I think they have something to say. I think there's a feeling that at the beginning that all AI was going to be about cheating, but I think there are ways, if encouraged, that students, actually, a lot of them want to learn, right? They really want to do this, and they want to do this properly. So it's just setting the right frameworks and boundaries and guidelines on how they can use it. Look, I'm a parent, and the school that my one's at university, one's at school, but they've just come back and said, actually, we're going to embrace AI more. They can use it, but we would recommend in this way. Don't just put in the essay question, but it absolutely can be used for research.
Sure. Well, we're coming towards the end. I wanted to ask you both the final big hit question. What part of BETT 2026 are you personally most excited about? Kate, do you want to go first?
Yes. I'm excited about lots of elements, but one element that I've been working on quite closely is the Women in EdTech initiative that we recently launched. So that'll take sort of two different things at the show. The first one is that we'll have women in networking circles and mentoring circles. So we'll have a host and we'll have females, and we also invite males to come as allies to just speak about being a woman in EdTech and learning from that mentor. So that's one element for the Women in EdTech. And the other one is the EdTech 10 list, which we've been running in Asia for quite a few years now, and it's really successful. But it's basically a platform to celebrate the incredible women that are making a difference within the sector. And this year's list, we had lots and lots of applicants. We've judged the applicants, and we've chosen 10 people to feature on the list, and they will be featured live at BETT. So yeah, really excited about that initiative and bringing that to life a bit more.
That's cool. And Duncan?
I'm going to mention a couple of things. One thing we're launching, which is new, and this is actually happening the day before BETT. Look, we're aware that lots of people come from all over the world to London for the week of BETT, and that is Wednesday to Friday. We are getting together over 100 ministers from different countries, ministers, deputy ministers, and the most senior civil servants for a ministerial symposium. So it's not for teachers, not for this audience, unfortunately. But what I do want to say to your listeners is we're actually going to hold their feet to the fire. And this isn't going to be a talking shop. We have people from UNICEF, UNESCO, and the OECD that are going to run design sprints on particular challenges around AI, sustainable finance for schools, and actually come out with some practical outputs that we will then track to make sure they push ahead with those, so they don't just come and have nice cups of tea, nice sandwiches, have some nice chats and go away and nothing moves forward. So we're really keen that we start making more of an impact on the big challenges in education. So that will be one at one end of things. And the other thing that I'm always excited about is BETT's Big Assembly. So a big assembly for the children in the main arena. This year it's going to be run by the BBC, who are talking about media literacy, which is, you might say, is a little bit ironic at the moment, and fake news and all of that. So I think, seeing the impact that can have directly with the children. We're really about the teachers, but we know over 4,000 children come to BETT, and it's great to see their eyes light up and enjoy a session in a very big assembly in the main arena.
No, it's great. I mean, I've attended that a few times. It's great. It's a lot of fun as well. So, no, super. Guys, thank you so much. I'm buzzing for this event. I think it's going to be amazing. It could be the best one yet. Really, really cool. So thank you so much for sharing a little bit of a sneak preview on some of the stuff that we've got to look forward to. Yeah, I can't wait to be there myself. It's going to be smashing. So have a great week, and check in with you again soon. I'm guessing you're into the really busy bit now. Busy BETT bit.
It's
a little bit.
Quite busy. Yeah. Let's just say it's 6-7 o'clock, and there's still lots of people in the office.
Yeah. Right. Everyone out there, if you want to get your ticket, head to uk.bettshow.com. Click register today. As I said at the start of the show, couldn't recommend it enough. It's completely free for any teacher or school leader who wants to come along. So get your ticket there. Come along. It's in London. It's at the Excel Centre, 21st to the 23rd of January, 2026. Thanks for watching and listening, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow with more shows on Teachers Talk Radio. Take care and good night. Bye, everyone.
Outstanding and world-class vision and world-class this.
I'm a real leadership geek, honestly. I've spent my whole career reading books and chatting to people.
I just find the whole thing and the announcement, the way it's been announced, bizarre.
If you could move away from a model where teachers are so intensely focused